Friends, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's not difficult for you, but it's nice for me, and we're starting. Anton had just arrived, took off his shoes, and was about to go into the hall to take a closer look at the invitations that he had taken from the printing house when the bell rang. But when I opened the door, there was no one on the landing, just an envelope taped with tape with the inscription, "Look, Svetka again." She has been constantly throwing notes at him lately, joking all the time, hinting at his wedding. Opening the envelope, he shook it, and a small memory card fell into his palm, which is usually used in phones. I sent the pictures. That's the infection. Svetka was his younger sister's girlfriend. She used to make eyes at him, but now she was making fun of him the old-fashioned way. So Anton thought that this time something similar would happen. He took out his phone, inserted a memory card, overloaded it, and found a file in the bookmark. Started the video. The voice was turned off, the ceiling flashed, then the camera lowered and Anton saw a woman's body. Wow. Realizing that this was a special recording, and looked into the corridor where his mother passed, closed the door to the room. Svetka was a fragile girl, still at school, with a pink fog in her head and a desire to love someone. But it was definitely not her in the video. Her face was not visible, only her shoulders and torso. "And who is this?" Anton said, and began to examine the body more closely. The woman in the frame sat down. A man's hand touched her form and began to squeeze. Something familiar flashed by. Anton sighed heavily and his temples began to pound. The footage was jumping. Sometimes it was hard to understand what was going on. But now the operator's hand calmed down and now he saw that the woman was lying. The camera slid up from the bottom. Anton shuddered and, glancing at the door, continued to watch the recording. But after a few seconds, it ended. And what was it? Maybe there is something else. I opened the memory card tab, but there was only this file. Maybe I missed something, he said aloud and started recording again. Now I tried not to get distracted. Here is a woman sitting, a thin waist, a small shape. The hand that touched her squeezed her fingers. "Stop." Anton commanded himself and stopped recording. My heart stopped for a moment and then began to pound violently. The tattoo. Zoya loved hanging out. She was like an electric broom in her life. She couldn't sit still. So this time, instead of celebrating her birthday at home, she invited her friends to the sauna. It was a little bachelorette party with its secrets, champagne, and wine. Paulina ran away first, followed by Kira. "Aren't you in a hurry?" Zoya asked her friend Marina. "No, I'm free until morning." "No, not even until tonight, because tomorrow is the day off. I'm all at your disposal. Now let's dance and get mad." She could only afford it when no one else was around. Then champagne and a pool. Or maybe on the contrary, a pool and champagne. Screaming, they jumped naked into the water, splashing in all directions. It was rarely possible to relax like this without thinking about work. After graduation, Zoya went to the bank. She didn't really like numbers, but she was well versed in the psychology of advertising. And Marina, even in her 4th year, began working part-time at the department. At first, she carried out small tasks, typed blindly, knew all the programs perfectly well, and helped write other people's dissertations and doctoral theses. "So, Anton proposed to you?" Zoya asked and hugged her friend and tried to tickle her. "Stop it. I'm going to drown. Let's go to the sauna. I've been there 5 times already." "So what? After all, that's why we came here, to lose fat." "Get out. We still have 2 hours ahead." "Did you rent until morning?" "No, but you and I have a bottle of champagne and some kind of wine left. Let's go." Zoya ran into the hall to get glasses, and Marina spread a towel on the hot boards and lay down with her feet up to the ceiling. "It's great that you invited me." "Yeah, at first I wanted to go to a restaurant, but it's boring. You'll forget in a year. But it's so cool." "It's a pity there are no boys," Zoya said and held out a glass. "It's better without them." "So you agreed?" Zoya had known for a long time that Anton was courting Marinina. She had met him before, good, kind, wiry, and, as it seemed to her, terribly smart. But he preferred not her, but his girlfriend. Of course, there was resentment and jealousy in my soul, but after starting dating Victor, the humiliation that you were neglected faded into the background. And yet Anton was a good man. She remembered his hands, lips, eyes. She felt good with him. At one point, she even thought that he would propose to her, but fortune turned away. Marina took a sip, put down the glass, closed her eyes and, satisfied with the evening, spread her hands apart. Once Zoya, just graduating from the institute, made a joke, took a photo where they took pictures together in swimsuits in the summer, and covering her arm to her shoulders, asked the guys to guess who was where. Their figures were the same. Height, hips, waist, and even hair color were black. The guys couldn't tell who was where. It was so funny. We laughed for a long time. Did you get a tattoo? Or is it a temporary drawing? Zoya noticed a red spot under Marina's uniform a long time ago, and only now, when she was lying on her back, could she see it. And why here? I don't really like tattoos. The skin will stretch, then who knows what will happen. I saw a picture of a woman who was beautiful in her youth, a tattoo in the form of a lion on her stomach. But when she gave birth and began to age, the lion turned into a drunk, the muzzle stretched. In general, it is not beautiful. So you've always done this? Yes, I decided for the first time. My friend chatted. She's just doing this. If you want to give me the address, she's a master. I don't even know if I'm marked, but maybe someone will find out. I specifically fit the uniform so that only he could see. Anton? Yes. Imagine, it's just for him. Zoya felt a stab in her heart. Long dormant jealousy began to climb out, scratch and bite. It hurt. I looked at the tattoo in the form of a flower that wrapped the stems around the shapes from the bottom. If Marina is wearing a neckline, even a deep one, no one will notice the pattern. You need to take off your bra, lie down, and only then you will see the thin petals. It's beautiful. Can I take it off? Why? Marina asked, frightened. Maybe I'll do the same one later, and you'll give me the address. Do you know where Nikolai Gondati Street is? Yes, it's in the neighborhoods. My mother lives there. Well, here is the intersection with Vasily Goltsov. There is also a pedestrian boulevard. Lyudka holds the salon, and you can't pass by a huge banner. She and her husband work together. If you go, tell me from me. We went rock climbing with her. Zoya ran away and came with a phone. Take it off well. You intrigue me. I wanted to do it myself. But Zoya did not even think of marking herself. Jealousy was scratching and biting in her. Thoughts were already jumping in her head, but they were fragmentary. Marina took another sip of champagne, smiled at her friend and blew a kiss and closed her eyes. Zoya switched the phone to silent mode. First took a few pictures of the shape and tattoo, and then, while her friend was resting, turned her attention to the pubis. Her lips were unnaturally large. The girls were involuntarily squinting while jumping in the pool. Zoya admired them. There was a desire like a cat to release its claws and cling to them. We spent almost an hour in the sauna, and after that, tired and satisfied, we ordered a taxi and went home. Anton called several times, but it wasn't Zoya who was talking to him, but her friend. He sends his regards to you. Him too, and a kiss. Did you hear that? Marina asked, laughing and pulling out the receiver. Presented the microphone. Zoya smacked her lips with gusto. A few days later, she went to the same salon, talked to Luda, who, oddly enough, had no tattoos on her hands. Zoya made a copy of the drawing that Marina had under her uniform, and when she came home, she stood in front of the mirror without clothes. It was probably at this moment that all the puzzles of her thoughts came together. She presented the drawing to the form, imagined that she had it, smiled and clapped her hands joyfully. Anton has watched a short video from a flash drive for the 100th time. When he started dating Marina and she undressed for the first time, there was no tattoo. He kissed her body. He couldn't calm down. In February, he proposed to her and Marina immediately agreed. And then she said she had a surprise. Anton questioned him for a long time, and only when they were alone did he understand what he was talking about. The skin around the drawing was red. He liked this flower because it was intended only for him. And now I was watching a video where a man's hand was squeezing the shape and the flower seemed to be shaking alive. Anton roared. He was destroyed, trampled on, humiliated. I wanted to say thank you to the one who attached the envelope with the flash drive, and at the same time cursed him. Evil clouded his mind. He tore up all the invitations. He grabbed the phone and personally called Marina and said that was the end of it. She rushed over, and he was pointing at the screen with his finger. growling at her. Marina tried to say that she had never done anything like this with anyone, but Anton did not hear her. How did you break up? Zoya blinked and spread her arms wide. Why, what happened? Did you do something? No. Her eyes were still red from crying. Then I don't understand anything. Did he just say that he wouldn't get married? What about the wedding? After all, he loved you. Have you met someone else? The goat. I didn't meet anyone. Maybe he was scared. You know him, just a little bit into the bushes. Marina did not talk about the video. Otherwise, there will be conversations, rumors. I also thought that Anton would come, apologize, and she would kiss him. I believed in my love and his, that it was someone's evil prank. Many people saw the tattoo. Marina did not want to look for someone to blame. By autumn, she calmed down and decided that it was for the best. Anton did not want to talk to her, immediately accused her, branded her a traitor. And if so, then she's not on her way with him. Marin. Zoya came to her in November, brought a cake and a bottle of wine. A holiday? I asked her joyfully and ran to turn on the kettle. Or let's start with wine. Let's start with wine. And the reason? Marin, you won't be offended. What have you done? She entered the room carrying 2 glasses. Tell me. Marinaka, me and Anton, and take him away. Marina had already been ill, but it hurt that she was humiliated, defiantly thrown away as a spoiled woman. But that was in the past, and I didn't even want to think about it. Honestly? Of course, honestly, I won't come to the wedding. Marinaka, forgive him. He's a fool. Something came over him. Can you make up? No. Whatever comes close. And you take it, wash it, comb it. When is the wedding? I didn't talk about the wedding. We only met a couple of times, and that's all. So everything is still ahead. You know, I wish you luck. Honestly, I don't even know why. The other one would have been poisoned. But I'm not. Let's drink your wine instead. Where is it? Here it is. Zoya left happy, not because they gave the green light, she could do without it, but because it was necessary. And in the spring, as soon as the stream started running and the hormones made themselves felt, Anton proposed and she agreed without hesitation. I wanted to tell my girlfriend everything, but I didn't dare. Suddenly she wouldn't understand. She would be offended. They applied and began to make plans for the future. Zoya relaxed and melting in his arms, allowed herself to be kissed, and he, enjoying his superiority, squeezed her body like a possessive. Moles. They're like pink pearls scattered all over your body, he said and began to kiss them. I have it here. Zoya pointed at her hip and then at the small of her back, also on the neck, like a necklace. Here, and ran her finger under the uniform. This is what I call the Orion belt. Why the belt in Orion? Have you studied astronomy? Yes, but not by moles, he answered her, while still kissing her. If you draw moles, you can make a constellation. Here I have Pegasus, and here is Eridan, just below Cepheus. And here is the star Arthur, the heart of Carl, Aliot. And what are these called? And Anton touched his tongue to a scattering of small moles just below her navel. I don't know. Think of it. Let it be the Milky Way. It looks like you haven't studied astronomy for sure. What kind of Milky Way is it? It's just a cluster of supernovae. And what? Seeing his surprised look, Zoya said, Where's your Orion? Here, and ran her finger under the left uniform. Anton touched her skin. Memories of the flower tattoo video flashed through her mind. Her fingers tightened on the molds, and the girl gasped. The first star is Alnitak, the second is Alnilam, and the third, it's a little higher here, it's Mantaka. Don't you sound beautiful? Just above Betelgeuse, Bellatrix, and below, though there are none, but there should be Safe and Rigel. Anton stared intently at the small pink dots that were hidden under the shape, like the very flower that Marina had. He was kissing, and excerpts from the video were spinning in his head. Nonsense, he said to himself, and squeezing the soft flesh with his fingers, he reached for a kiss. And yet the memories were haunting. Anton ran home, opened his laptop, where he dropped the fatal video and started staring at the screen. Here is a girl laughing, there is no sound, as well as a face. But Anton saw the shapes. His fingers clutched at it and squeezed it like it was dough, pulling it towards him. He stopped recording and stared coldly at the 3 pink moles that glowed among the petals of the flower. Orion's belt, he whispered and resumed recording. It seemed to him that his heart had stopped. He could not believe his eyes, and for the 10th time he was scrolling through the video. But Anton couldn't understand how. I wanted to remember Marina's flower, but I forgot everything, and now a man's hand loomed before my eyes. He thought he could hear the girl laughing. And here she is on her back. The lens stopped for a few seconds and captured the flower, slid sideways. He packed up and left without telling anyone. He felt like a traitor, as if his hand was on the video and he was squeezing someone else's body, and then accused Marina of it. I felt disgusted for myself, for my suspicions, anger, which clouded my mind, for the weakness of crossing out love so quickly and diving into someone else's bed. Zoya cursed Anton that he had already abandoned the second woman, and if it hadn't been for Victor, who had joined her and occupied an empty niche, she would have killed him out of anger. "Will you marry me?" A little unsure of himself, he asked her. Honestly, I'm ready right now. Do you agree?" "Okay, but what? Then right now?" "Come on," Victor replied, no longer restraining his joy. Zoe's mom was glad that her daughter would finally settle down and stop sighing. Although Marina was not happy about this turn, she agreed to come to the wedding, which was scheduled for August. As usual, bitter toasts. Toastmaster worked off his bread, forcing him to move and sit down at the table just to catch his breath. "Are these our gifts?" Zoya looked curiously at the boxes and envelopes that were piled on the table. "Let's deal with them tomorrow?" Victor exclaimed when he saw the inscription, "To my husband," on one of the envelopes. "This is for me." "What's in there?" The wife has already asked her husband curiously. "It says to my husband, maybe the instructions for use." "Show me." And in the morning it was forgotten, and only in the late afternoon Victor remembered about the pretty crumpled envelope that was in his pocket. His wife ran away with her friends, and, left alone, he opened the cherished message. A small USB flash drive, which is usually used in a phone, fell into the palm of my hand. Inserting it and overloading the phone opened a directory where there was only one file labeled Orion Belt.